The subject of today's video got screwed. At one point, he was the #1 wide receiver in his recruiting class, was the next great receiver for his program, and the sky was the limit for him. This guy not only would get injured once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times. He was a superstar coming out of high school, and honestly, he could have been a star in college football, but the guy has gotten absolutely screwed. In today's video, we're going to take a look at a former blue chip prospect, go through his rise, his pretty crazy college career so far, and what has gone wrong and what I expect in the future for him. But before we get into today's video, nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel for the upcoming season, and we can definitely do better than that, so be sure to hit that button, smash that like button for the algorithm, let me know who I should do next, and turn on post notifications so you never miss my upload. Now, let's get started. At this point, you're probably wondering who the subject of today's video, and it is none other than current Ohio State wide receiver Kamryn Babb. If you're a Buckeyes fan, you're more than familiar with him, but in order to understand what has gone wrong for him, we need to go back in time. Kamryn Babb grew up in the St. Louis area and was always a great athlete. He blew up while he was at Christian Brothers High School, which is located in St. Louis, and actually caught 45 passes for 788 yards and 9 touchdowns. And yeah, this only happened in 7 games. The guy was an electric athlete and became a huge deal on the recruiting scene. He was wanted by a ton of big name programs, and at one point, he was considered the nation's #1 wide receiver in some outlets. He held offers from Alabama, Oklahoma, Florida, Michigan, USC, and a plethora of other schools, but in early December of 2017, he chose to go to Ohio State. He had this to say about why he chose to go to the Buckeyes. Quote, "They're a great school, and from the jump they made it feel like home. It really does feel like home with the way the coaches treat you and your family. I think the big thing for me was they care about me as a person, and it goes way beyond football. It's not just a number, and it's not just a football player. My parents are happy about it, and Coach Meyer and Coach Smith will take care of me up there. There are a lot of good football programs out there, but ultimately I think Ohio State will set me up for my best future life. I feel like it's the right school for me. Hopefully, it'll be a good ride." Cam had a ton of hope going into that, and he would need that if he wanted to see through all the nonsense he'd be hit with. He was selected to the U.S. Army All-American Bowl, and apparently he had known during his official visit he wanted to be a Buckeye, but he waited almost 2 months to go public with it. For a while, he was actually considering going to Missouri, and it was the most prestigious offer he had. Then Ohio State came in and changed the ball game. Mizzou desperately needed him, but Barry Odom could not grab him. Eventually, Ohio State became the favorite, and he went to their 2016 game against Michigan. You probably remember that game, as the two were top 5, and this was a battle for the winner of the Big Ten East. Michigan was great, but after a controversial 4th down conversion, Ohio State would win the game in overtime by way of Curtis Samuel. This game left a lasting impact on Babb, and combining that with everything, he was going to be a Buckeye. Oh yeah, and his high school teammate was a guy named Cameron Brown. He was actually originally a Nebraska commit, but he actually flipped to Ohio State. Then he blew up, and he has since moved to the defensive side of the ball and is still a Buckeye. So at this point, everything was going really well for Babb, but then everything would take a turn for the worst as he tore his ACL right before his senior year. This would end it before it even started, and it kind of put him into panic mode. He thought he would see his offers get pulled, but once he called Urban Meyer and Zach Smith, they assured him that he had an offer on the table, and they were not going to yank it from him. According to 24/7 Sports, Babb was a 4-star recruit, the number 13 wide receiver, and the 73rd best player in the class of 2018. Babb was expected to be the main guy from the class of 2018, but little did they know that a 3-star kid from California would become one of the best receivers in school history instead of Babb. I'm talking about Chris Olave. Obviously, he had a ton of hype going into his collegiate career, but Babb would be hit with a setback. On July 24th of 2018, it was announced that Babb would miss the entire season with an ACL injury. It was not in the same knee as before, and for better or for worse, now both legs were messed up. He wasn't likely going to play a whole lot in 2018, as they were pretty loaded at that spot, but it would have been good to see him in garbage time. And the receivers consisted of Paris Campbell, KJ Hill, Terry McLaurin, Johnny Dixon, Benjamin Victor, and Austin Mack. We also saw a freshman start to get in there, and his name was Chris Olave. That becomes a little bit more important later. Ohio State had a pretty weird 2018 season. Both Urban Meyer and his recruiter Zach Smith got in trouble, but it really didn't mess up a lot of their year. They did survive a close call on the road against number 9 Penn State and at home to Minnesota, but then the Buckeyes blew it on the road to Purdue as they got annihilated in that game. From there, they barely survived against Nebraska, took overtime to beat Maryland, and of course, beat Michigan in the game. The Buckeyes went to the Big Ten Championship, where they cruised on to the Rose Bowl and beat Washington in Urban Meyer's final game. Sadly, Babb had to sit there on the sidelines. As we look forward to 2019, Paris Campbell, Terry McLaurin, and Johnny Dixon were all gone now. This would open the door for Kamryn Babb to play a key role, except it didn't happen. In March of 2019, Babb would once again tear his ACL, and this was now the 4th time he had had that same injury. Babb would once again have to watch on the sidelines. In 2019, we saw Justin Fields transfer from Georgia to Ohio State, we saw Ryan Day take over as the head coach, and we saw Chris Olave emerge as the top receiver. We got a healthy dose of Olave, Hill, Victor, Garrett Wilson, and Austin Mack that year, and even another former St. Louis star by the name of Jamison Williams. Babb had to watch from the sidelines as Ohio State would cruise through their regular season and go 12-0, beat number 8 Wisconsin in the Big Ten Championship, and then lose a heartbreaker to Clemson. After 4 injuries, most players would give up, but not Babb. He was finally healthy for the 2020 season, but then he got screwed. The entire world fell apart, and he didn't have a whole lot of time to get up the depth chart, and Ohio State had already brought in so many talented weapons. Babb would actually appear in a couple games. He mostly was on special teams and didn't record a single stat, but he at least got on the field. He probably would not have been as star as Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson would all be the starters, and there were tons of loaded weapons before him, but Babb was at least going to try to finish out his college career. Then, he got another setback. He tore his ACL again. This past spring, he had that same injury for the 5th time now, and he decided he would move on from football. He said, quote, "It might be time to wrap it up." This guy is one of the most positive dudes you'll ever hear, and he decided to stick with the team. Because of that, he was named a captain, and he became extremely emotional about that. He has since taken on a leadership role with the team, and this is what head coach Ryan Day had to say about it. Quote, "This is one of the most amazing stories I've ever been around. This guy has been through 5 ACL injuries, and he's currently unavailable, but he came up and spoke to the team last week about what resilience means, and that was a word that we spent about 3 days on here during camp. Something that's a mark of a lot of successful people is the ability to be resilient and bounce back from adversity and failure, and emotional pain. He is the epitome of that. He's an unbelievable leader, and he has set a standard here. The hard part for Cam is he really just hasn't spent much time on the field, but his impact has been left already on this program. I know he wants to leave a legacy, and this is an unbelievable way for him to do it. He could have walked away 2 or 3 different times, and he hasn't. He's stuck with us." Babb has gotten screwed by the college football gods. He's gotten injured 5 times, and in his career, he's literally registered 1 tackle on special teams. For someone who was the number 1 ranked wide receiver in his class at one point, this is not how his career was supposed to go. Ohio State has been churning out receivers into the NFL, and Babb was supposed to be one of the next ones. Kamryn will leave a legacy at Ohio State though, as he has obviously become a leader, and I think this guy will have a career in something like that. Football seems to be done for him, and he could have had a bad attitude and kept giving up, but this dude is an absolute fighter, and despite being the unluckiest player in all of college football, he still wins. So yeah, what did you guys think of today's video? What do you think of this story? Who is another college football player who has gotten screwed over? And what topic should I do next? Be sure to let me know down in the comment section. Subscribe if you are new here. Hit that like button for the algorithm. And check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon. But until next time, peace.